Hi, my name is Bradley Tilson, and I'm giving the Module 11 speech. Just a disclaimer, I don't have access to an online or in-person audience, so I will have to be filming without that. Thank you. The Human Rights Watch. Have you ever been discriminated against simply because of your race, gender, sexuality, or religion? This discrimination against so many in our society today results in many poor situations for the people who are being judged and pushed away. However, the Human Rights Watch, an organization out of New York City, helps to protect the rights and beliefs of over 14 million people worldwide. They aim to diminish trafficking, hate crime, and discrimination of all people. As someone who's been discriminated against for a decent portion of my life, I'm partial to the protection of every person's rights, no matter the situation. I've done almost 20 hours of research on this issue, and I've talked to many people about this topic. This is why it's so important to support organizations like the Human Rights Watch and push for the rights of all people. Women's, children's, and LGBTQ rights are all issues worldwide that need to be handled. First off, many women have been stripped of certain rights and privileges across the world. Many women have experienced discrimination due to their gender, whether that be based upon their gender in itself or their abilities. They're also mistreated because of their gender. They are not allowed into educational or political stances, as well as being trafficked and being forced into certain kinds of work. Firstly, many women experience discrimination in many areas of their life. According to World Bank Group, a group who works for human rights and to decrease poverty, says that in 2022, around 2.4 billion women of working age were not afforded equal economic opportunity, and 178 countries maintain legal barriers that prevent their full economic participation, according to World Bank's Women, Business, and Law 2022 report. Secondly, many women are trafficked simply because of their gender and bodies. This can either be for sexual purposes, labor-intensive work, or simply being sold for private purposes. While it is not only women being trafficked, there are much more likely to be. The Human Trafficking Institute, an organization that works to stop trafficking, said the ILO estimates that there were 24.9 million victims of human trafficking around the world. The 24.9 million figure indicates both sex trafficking or commercial sexual exploitation and forced labor exploitation, both in the private sector and state-imposed areas. The statements above show how truly horrible women have been treated throughout the world. This shows why society needs to advocate for women's rights, and this will help protect the lives of so many and allow many more women into equal working opportunities. In total, women deserve to have their rights protected. On a similar issue, children have had their rights taken away simply because they are children or because of the areas they were born into, and they have no control over these factors. Children have been forced to live in dangerous conditions with life-threatening risks such as school shootings. They have also been forced to work in unsafe areas. Many children are also denied the access to education, which can stunt their intellectual developments. Firstly, many children have been forced to live or work in dangerous conditions. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, global estimates from the International Labor Organization, ILO, indicate that there are roughly 160 million children between 5 and 17 years old in child labor, roughly half of them in hazardous conditions. Many children are forced to do this because their parents think it's normal, and that's how they were raised, and this creates generational tradition for child labor. Secondly, children are denied the ability to go to school. Mostly this is because of poverty or a lack of resources. However, this can be caused by discrimination or disaster as well. According to the Global Citizen, an organization that aims to protect children's and people's rights worldwide, says that globally, more than 75 million children have had their educations disrupted because of conflict or disaster. In the Dadaab refugee camp of Kenya, just 13% of children have access to post-primary education because of a lack of schools and teachers. So many children are affected by this lack of education for many reasons. This lack creates issues for these children as they grow. According to Global Citizen, when children are denied an education, they're more likely to experience life-altering violence, forced labor, sex and slavery trafficking, early marriage, hunger and malnutrition, recruitment by militias, and all of this according to Education Cannot Wait. And that's in the short term. In the long term, adults who are unable to get an education because of an emergency are more likely to live in poverty, die early, contract disease. This is why it's so important to push for child education and education for all. Secondly, the issue of working as a child can greatly affect one. The Human Rights Watch says that these abuses affect their development and may result in a loss of opportunities that are needed for healthy growth. Because working so young can stunt growth both intellectually and physically, it's extremely important to vouch for these children's rights. This is why we need to help children stuck in these horrible situations. Another major group that has been stripped of their rights is the LGBTQ+ community. They're discriminated against for who they identify as and for their beliefs. The LGBTQ+ community is worldwide, and many people identify somewhere on this spectrum. Because of this, more people are being stripped of their rights. Many are fronted with violence or are not allowed into certain spaces for who they identify as. Multiple people in the LGBTQ+ community have been fought, shot, harassed, or given unfair treatment. Hate crimes have been committed over many of these situations. The Human Rights Campaign said that for the second year in a row, more than 1 in 5 of any type of hate crime is now motivated by anti-LGBTQ+ bias. Another version of this hatred is presented in conversion therapy or camps. Many LGBTQ+ people are also fighting the unfair treatment of some government movements. Project 2025, a movement being placed by our current U.S. President Donald Trump, aims to remove LGBTQ+ people from many rights. According to the National Women's Rights Center, for starters, Project 2025 calls for removing the term sexual orientation and gender identity from every federal rule, agency regulation, contract, grant, regulation, and piece of legislation that exists. This erasure is not symbolic. It's part of a systematic effort to strip LGBTQ+ people of all legal protection from persecution, discrimination, and violence. Here's a few examples of how Project 2025's authors say they'll do it. They dismantle the Affordable Care Act's protections against sex discrimination in healthcare, and they are planning to reverse the 2024 Title IX rule, depriving LGBTQ+ students, and in fact all students, especially of women and girls, of non-discrimination protections in K-12 schools, colleges, and universities to get federal funding. This would gut LGBTQ+ workspace discrimination protections under Title VI, limiting them to just hiring and firing decisions. These pieces will dismantle the identities of many, denying them the right to their own identity, healthcare, work, and education. This is why it's key to protect these rights. Without this protection, they will be forced into unlivable conditions and at a great danger of being harmed. They need to be advocated for not because of their beliefs, but because they are humans too. This is why the rights of all, especially women, children, and LGBTQ+ people, are so important in our society. All of the reasons presented above show why it is so imperative to support programs like the Human Rights Watch and others. They fight to protect the rights of all people and demographics, including the ones mentioned above. Women's rights need to be advocated for because they are discriminated against simply for their bodies, and this causes a host of issues in the workplace, educational system, and daily life for many. Children deserve these rights as well as a right to a safe environment to grow up in and a reliable education. Finally, people in the LGBTQ+ community have been subject to hatred simply for their identities. Many are thrown into conversion and the subject of hate crimes, or even just having their rights pushed aside because of who they are. This is why you should advocate for all people's rights, not because you support them or because you believe in what they do, but because in simple terms, we are all humans and all deserve the right to be who we are without worrying about being harmed in public spaces. Thank you.